The auction. The air in Nova Station's auction pit reeked of ionized metal and synthetic lavender, a combination that made Tam's stomach twist. The persistent humming of containment fields filled his ears, vibrations that haunted his sleep. Sweat trickled down his spine despite the artificial chill that kept legitimate patrons comfortable. At 12 years old, the orphan boy already knew that on Nova Station, comfort was just another luxury he couldn't afford. Next item, special military-grade acquisition. A thermal life form from the restricted systems beyond the charge barrier. The central platform rose, revealing a massive containment field shimmering with tachyonic resonance. Inside lay a creature that made Tam's breath catch, a dragon with scales the color of burned metal and crusted blood. About 20 meters long, with wings folded tight against its body, pinned by energy restraints. Even captive, it radiated ancient danger. Its eyes reflected the auction lights like burning embers in darkness. Captured from a dying world in the Pyrrhician system, the auctioneer continued. Previous owners attempted bonding protocols without success. This specimen's thermally reactive hide alone would fetch billions. The humming intensified as Tam noticed the collar around the dragon's neck, embedded with circuits and inscriptions that looked like writing. The dragon's fiery gaze fixed directly on him, intelligence and suffering mingled behind its stare. The collar's patterns triggered Tam's scanner, displaying an ancient script, "The Voicekeeper shall never be silenced." His grandfather's stories flooded back, tales of voicekeepers, beings engineered to preserve the cultural heritage of extinct civilizations within their very bodies. Bidding starts at 8 million credits, announced the auctioneer. Bids climbed rapidly until a Nexalan Corporation agent reached 22 million. They'd dissect the dragon, extract whatever data they could, discard the rest. The thought sickened Tam. Going once for 22 million to Nexalan. Cultural Preservation Claim under Intersystem Heritage Act, Article 437. Tam shouted impulsively, his young voice ringing through the auction pit. Stunned silence followed. The Nexalan agent's expression hardened beneath his corporate uniform. On what grounds, boy? Tam swallowed hard, approaching the containment field. The markings on the collar match protected cultural symbols from the Pyrrhician system. A bluff, but delivered with conviction beyond his years. This creature is a living cultural repository, not military equipment. Absurd, the agent snapped. This child has no standing here. But the auctioneer hesitated. Cultural claims were rare but potentially troublesome, legal complications. Your credentials? I'm a recognized field assessor in training, Tam lied, producing forged documentation Rex had given him for emergencies. Let me examine the specimen. 24 hours to confirm or withdraw the claim. The dragon's ancient eyes never left his face, and for a moment, Tam could swear he saw hope flickering in those burning depths. The bond. The examination chamber's sterile walls seemed to close in around Tam as security guards sealed the entrance. 24 hours to prove his claim, or face charges for fraudulent interference with corporate acquisition. The dragon lay motionless within a smaller containment field, but Tam could sense its awareness tracking his every movement. The collar's inscriptions pulsed with faint bioluminescence, responding to proximity. I know what you are, Tam whispered, approaching slowly. Grandfather told me stories about the Voicekeepers. You're not just a dragon, you're a living library. The creature's massive head turned toward him, ancient intelligence blazing in its eyes. When Tam placed his palm against the containment barrier, the collar's patterns flared brighter. Suddenly, images flooded his mind, not his own memories, but visions of a dying world. Cities of crystal and song, beings of light and wisdom, a civilization's final moments as their star collapsed. The dragon wasn't just preserving their culture, it was the last guardian of an entire race's soul. They made you watch, Tam breathed, tears streaming down his face. You were supposed to carry their memory to safety, but the collectors found you first. The dragon's rumble was barely audible through the containment field, but Tam felt the emotion behind it, centuries of loneliness, purpose denied, hope slowly dying. The collar's not just keeping you prisoner, he realized, studying the circuitry. It's blocking your voice. That's how you were meant to share what you carry, through song. His scanner revealed the collar's true nature, a neural suppressor designed to prevent the dragon from accessing its vocal abilities. Without its voice, the creature couldn't fulfill its purpose as a voicekeeper. I can't remove it here, Tam admitted. But I won't let them dissect you. There has to be another way. The dragon's eyes dimmed, resignation replacing hope. It had heard promises before. But as Tam worked through the night, cross-referencing legal databases and cultural protection protocols, an idea began to form. Dangerous, desperate, but possible. When morning came, he wasn't just ready to defend his claim, he was ready to change everything. The gambit. The hearing chamber buzzed with tension as corporate lawyers filled half the gallery. Nexalin had brought their entire legal division to crush what they saw as a child's pathetic delusion. Tam sat alone at the appellant's table, his forged credentials the only thing standing between him and immediate arrest. The dragon remained in containment 3 levels below, but he could feel its presence, a warm weight in the back of his mind that hadn't been there before. This tribunal will now hear the cultural preservation claim, announced Judge Corvain, her crystalline features betraying no emotion. Present your evidence. The lead Nexalin attorney rose first, his presentation crisp and devastating. Your Honor, this is clearly a fraudulent claim by an unqualified minor. The specimen is a dangerous predator from a dead system. No cultural significance has ever been documented for the Pyrrhician worlds. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the corporate section. When Tam's turn came, his hands shook as he activated the holographic display. But his voice held steady. The creature isn't from the Pyrrhician system originally, he began. It's a Voicekeeper, a living archive created by the Zara-Ni civilization of the Andorian Reach. The Pyrrhician system was where it took refuge after the Zara-Ni homeworld's destruction 3,000 years ago. The display showed the collar's decoded inscriptions, ancient star maps, and cultural markers that matched known Zara-Ni artifacts scattered across the galaxy. The Zara-Ni were master archivists, Tam continued. They didn't just record their history, they embedded it in living beings who could carry their culture across the stars. This dragon contains the complete cultural memory of an extinct civilization, including their poetry, music, philosophical works, and scientific achievements. Judge Corvain leaned forward. How do you propose to verify this extraordinary claim? By allowing the Voicekeeper to fulfill its purpose, Tam said simply. Remove the neural suppressor collar and let it speak. If I'm wrong, Nexalin gets their specimen. If I'm right. If you're right, the Nexalin attorney interrupted, you're asking us to potentially lose billions in revenue based on the word of a child. I'm asking you to recognize that some things are worth more than money, Tam shot back. The last voice of an entire civilization should be heard, not silenced forever in a corporate laboratory. The chamber fell silent. In that moment, something changed in the dragon's containment, the creature lifted its massive head, as if sensing the possibility of freedom. Judge Corvain's decision would determine not just their fates, but whether the galaxy would gain or lose something irreplaceable. The voice returns. The tribunal grants a conditional examination, Judge Corvain declared. The neural suppressor will be temporarily disabled under strict security protocols. If the specimen demonstrates genuine cultural preservation capabilities, the claim stands. If not, she didn't need to finish. Tam would face fraud charges, and the dragon would become Nexalin property. The containment chamber had been cleared except for essential personnel. Corporate security surrounded the dragon's field, weapons ready. Tam stood at the control panel, his finger hovering over the suppressor's deactivation switch. Are you certain about this, boy? Whispered the technician beside him. If that thing breaks free. It won't, Tam said, though his heart hammered against his ribs. It's been waiting 3,000 years for this moment. The dragon's ancient eyes met his through the containment barrier, a moment of perfect understanding between species separated by eons of evolution. Tam pressed the switch. The collar's circuits went dark. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the dragon drew its first unrestricted breath in decades, its massive chest expanding as neural pathways long suppressed came back online. When it opened its mouth, the sound that emerged wasn't a roar, it was music. The song that poured forth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. Harmonics that shouldn't have been possible from any throat resonated through the chamber, carrying within them the essence of an entire civilization. The dragon's voice painted images in the air, crystal cities under binary suns, beings of living light dancing among the stars, scientific discoveries that could revolutionize galactic understanding. Corporate attorneys wept without knowing why. Security guards lowered their weapons, transfixed. Even Judge Corvain's stoic composure cracked as the song revealed mathematical proofs, philosophical insights, and artistic achievements that surpassed anything in current galactic culture. But more than knowledge, the song carried emotion, the joy and sorrow of a people who knew they were dying but refused to let their legacy die with them. They had poured their souls into this living archive, trusting that someday, someone would care enough to listen. The dragon's gaze never left Tam as it sang, and in that burning stare was gratitude beyond measure. The boy hadn't just freed its voice, he'd given purpose back to its existence. When the song finally ended, the chamber remained in awed silence. The dragon folded its wings and lowered its great head, exhausted but fulfilled for the first time in centuries. "The claim is validated," Judge Corvain whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "By ancient law and moral imperative, this being is declared a protected cultural treasure of the galaxy." But the real victory wasn't legal, it was the bond that had formed between a lonely human child and an ancient guardian of memories. Neither would ever be alone again. New beginnings. 6 months later, Tam sat in his new quarters aboard the research vessel Harmony, watching the dragon, who had chosen the name Zephyrus, demonstrate Zarani mathematical concepts to a team of astounded xenoarchaeologists. The Nexalin Corporation had been forced to pay massive fines for attempting to acquire a protected cultural artifact. The settlements provided enough funding to establish the first Intersystem Cultural Preservation Institute, with Tam as its youngest-ever junior researcher. The quantum resonance patterns in verse 47 contain the key to faster-than-light communication without time dilation, Zephyrus explained telepathically to his audience, having learned to project thoughts as well as memories. His physical voice was reserved for the sacred songs of his people. Tam smiled, remembering the terror and desperation of that day in the auction pit. Who could have imagined it would lead to this? Archaeological discoveries that were rewriting galactic history, scientific breakthroughs that promised to benefit every species in known space, and most importantly, the salvation of an extinct civilization's legacy. The Zarani believed that as long as their voice existed somewhere in the universe, they were not truly dead, Zephyrus had told him during one of their long conversations. "Through you, young friend, they live again." The dragon had also revealed something else during their months together: he wasn't the only Voicekeeper. Others existed, scattered across the galaxy, some free but most likely in captivity or worse. The Institute's new mission was to find and protect them all. As Tam prepared for sleep, Zephyrus curled his massive form around a small human habitat pod, a protective gesture that had become their nightly ritual. The boy who had once slept alone on Nova Station's cold corridors now rested under the watchful eye of a guardian older than human civilization. "Tomorrow we begin searching for your siblings," Tam murmured against the dragon's warm scales. "Yes," Zephyrus agreed, his mental voice carrying notes of hope and determination. "And the galaxy will hear the voices it thought were lost forever." In the vast darkness of space, their ship continued its journey toward distant stars, carrying with it the promise that no culture, no matter how small or forgotten, would ever be allowed to disappear again. The boy who had risked everything to save one ancient voice had started a revolution of remembrance that would echo across the cosmos. Some bonds transcend species, time, and space itself. In the friendship between Tam and Zephyrus, the galaxy had found something it didn't even know it was missing, the knowledge that wisdom, courage, and compassion were truly universal languages. The first Voicekeeper had been freed. Now it was time to find the others. The end.